What's up, everybody, and happy Wednesday. Happy hump day. This week I feel like it's going by really fast. Like yesterday, I don't know, I feel like I've had 3 Mondays in a row, which is very strange, but it's Wednesday, so I'm happy about that. I don't know. I don't know. And also, the weather has been nice. If you live in the Cleveland area, well, anyway, I'm sure the weather around the country is getting better, but if you live in the Cleveland area specifically, because that's where I live, the weather for the past couple of days has been great. Like I've been going outside and walking and not just like doing a little small walk. Like I've been getting out here in these streets, honey, and just walking like for miles. So really for 4 miles. But the weather's been really great. Like I feel like God is really shining on us. Hope everyone is having a great time in their quarantine season, really tapping into what God is trying to tell you, understanding what your purpose is, trying to grow and develop in different ways. And I also saw a post really quick before we get into the content for today. I also saw a post that said, just because we're quarantined or you have nothing to do. It was along these lines. I'm gonna butcher the saying, but it was pretty much saying like, just because we're in this quarantine time or in this time of isolation and you have nothing else to do doesn't mean that you have to come out of this quarantine with a lot of different ideas or a lot of different projects or anything like that, which I 100% agree. However, make sure you're still being productive. And being productive could mean getting your mind together, could mean getting your emotions together. All the stuff that we talked about in March as it relates to health. But so yes, you don't have to necessarily come out, on fire with a thousand different projects, have invested in a lot of different things. You don't have to do that or learn any new skills. No, you don't have to do that, but don't be lazy. Okay, still be productive, and honestly, trying to focus in on what your purpose is in life is probably going to be one of the most productive things that you can do during this isolation. Understand how God is speaking to you, and then use that to understand what your purpose is. If you don't do anything else during this time of isolation, that's probably going to be the most productive thing that you can do. Outside of that, you can also get yourself into some different projects. Like I've told my friends, I've been looking around my house to see like what projects that I can do, because I don't know, I just have some free time and might as well do it now. So yeah, that's just some encouragement there. But yeah, happy Wednesday. Hope everyone is having a great day so far. Let's get into our content for today. So as always, God is blessing us. He's always going to be blessing us. This week we are talking about brokenness. So you guys know we started a new goal focus for this month, which is being whole. And so each week we're going to break down what that means, and honestly, each week is going to be like the step to wholeness. So this week we're talking about brokenness, what that means, how we identify ourselves as broken, and then once we have identified ourselves or the broken areas in our lives, how can we use that to become whole? And that'll actually be Friday's topic, and then segue into next week. So brokenness, how did we get here? Okay, how did we get to a place of brokenness? And I'm going to use we a lot, especially for this month, because I still have some broken areas in my life that I'm trying to make whole, or I'm trying to get to that whole point. So if there wasn't another month where I'm going to be relating with my viewers, it's definitely going to be this month. But how do we get here? So if you remember on Monday, or if you watch Monday's video, if not, I'm going to say it again. The definition of being broken is being forcibly separated into two or more pieces. So if we're relating that into our lives, there had to have been some force or trauma that we went through, or that happened in our lives that caused us to be broken for whatever reason. Okay. And that could be in a lot of different areas. I'm reading this book by Toria Roberts called Wholeness. And I actually haven't read the whole thing, but I've just been skimming it just because it goes hand in hand with this month. Obviously, it's called Wholeness. So shout out to my sister Totney for the recommendation. But he identifies 3 different areas that you can visualize, or that you can see brokenness in your life. So the first one was personal. So personal brokenness could be like if you were personally let down. It could even be in the form of like personally being shamed or anything, or shamed for anything, raped, molested, anything like that. That's personal brokenness. Then he goes on to talk about social brokenness, which could be like social poverty, like cultural things. So poverty, racism, sexism, things like that. And then he goes on to talk about generational brokenness, which actually my mother told me about that too the other day. So shout out to my mom as well. Generational brokenness, which I like that. I like that focus because I feel like a lot of times when people drum up the idea of being broken, they a lot of times look at their own life. Like, I'm 29 years old, so in my 29 years of life, what caused me to be broken? However, for certain things, you are going to have to look at the generations before you too, because generational brokenness can come in the form of like alcoholism. If some of your family was going through like rejection and then pass that down to you, abuse, whether it's like verbal abuse or something like that. It could be in a variety of different ways. So not necessarily things that you personally have dealt with or that you struggled with, or not trauma that happened to you, but something that happened to your parents or their parents or their parents. Literally trace it down the line. And that one I think is most important in the brokenness topic, because when you are having these conversations, or when you're going back in your life and trying to figure out where the broken areas are in your life, it's important to have these conversations with your parents and your parents' parents. And even if you, because for some reason, you know, some people may not have access to their parents, but try to trace back in your life and see, like, where did the break originally happen? Like, where did the trauma originally happen that now I'm dealing with it? That way you can stop it from going on any further generations. Like, you don't want your kids to have to go through the same thing that you're going through. Okay, same thing with me. I don't want that either. So what does a broken person look like? Because I feel like a lot of times when people are talking about someone being broken, like, you automatically think like they're sad, they're depressed, they're just walking around in this gloomy state. But that's actually not true at all. Another saying that Tory Roberts says in his book was, if you don't know who Tory Roberts is, he's married to Sarah Jakes Roberts, who is like this phenomenal speaker. Like, she's awesome. T.D. Jakes' daughter. And he was saying that there was a saying that he heard from his wife's family, that that said, even a broken clock is right twice a day. And that saying, honestly, like, if my mom were to say that, I'd probably look at her like, what? But it makes so much sense when you're thinking about things being broken and really identifying if we are broken people. Because a lot of times there are so many broken people out there that you wouldn't know are broken, because they're only focusing on the right times of the day, if that makes sense. So they're only focusing or displaying the points that they are right, or that they don't look broken, or that they may look whole. So when you look at their life, it's like, oh my gosh, that person can't be dealing with X, Y, and Z, but that's because we're only seeing them the 2 times a day that they're right. Okay, so in order for us to understand, for ourselves at least, in order for us to make sure that we are not those broken clocks that are only displaying the 2 times a day that we are right, we have to really highlight on the areas that we're broken. I believe that all of us probably know those areas that we see some breaks or some tears, but we need to acknowledge the fact that we're not perfect. Okay, we need to acknowledge the fact that we are not perfect, and in acknowledging that, we need to understand that there is some fixing that needs to happen, and we need to set our pride aside, honestly, and get out of that mindset of, I'm perfect, and even if I'm not perfect, like, no one's perfect, so my imperfection is what makes, like, yes, like, no one is perfect, but why would you want to go around in life not striving for perfection, excuse me. Like, no, I don't think that I'm perfect at all. I don't even know if I'll ever reach a state of perfection, but I would like to strive to perfection. And if that means I got to dig deep into my inner self, or dig deep into my family's generational curses or whatever, and start really understanding the broken areas of my life, well, so be it. I'm going to do it. Okay? And you should have that same mindset too. So that is today's video, is really understanding, making sure that we understand the meaning behind that saying, even a broken clock is right twice a day. And we don't want to only be displaying our 2 times a day that we are right. Okay, we want to make sure that we are looking at the clock as a whole. Something's wrong with that clock, okay? Don't just look at it at 11:37 every day, because it may be right, but what about 11:38? Okay, now I'm going on to something else that probably doesn't need to be discussed. But yeah, on Friday, we're going to talk more about this book, and I'll post this on my IG and on the Facebook, because this is a really good book. Like, I haven't even finished reading it, and it's so good so far. But on Friday, we're going to talk a little bit more about this book, because he identifies 3 ways that we can not only identify our brokenness, but also overcome our brokenness. So surrendering to our brokenness so that we can surrender our brokenness to becoming whole. All right, so that's what we'll talk about on Friday. Hope everyone has a great Wednesday and a fabulous Thursday, and I'll talk to you guys again on Friday. Bye.